Good evening and thank you for joining us on Local 5 News at 10. Protests continue in the city of Minneapolis and across the country tonight, stemming from the death of George Floyd, an African-American man who died while in police custody on Monday. Here in Green Bay, police were out all afternoon and evening making sure protests in the city's downtown didn't erupt into violence. Protesters first gathered at the intersection of Walnut and Ashland this afternoon, blocking traffic from crossing the intersection. The group chanted "Black Lives Matter" and "Hands Up" in reference to police arrests. Frustrated drivers got into some conflicts with protesters throughout the day, but nothing escalated into violence while we were there, and Green Bay police have not yet reported any incidents at this point. In news from our Fox cities tonight, a Black Lives Matter protest drew thousands to downtown Appleton. Local 5's Rhonda Fox was there and shows us why the issue hits so close to home for so many.
This is not the first time this has happened. This is not the first time that an innocent black man was on his back, not resisting arrest, and was killed.
Cassandra Ross is one of the organizers for Appleton's Black Lives Matter march to peacefully protest the death of George Floyd. The issue of police violence hits close to home for Cassandra.
I lost my cousin to police brutality in Chicago. I know how this feels. I know how this feels.
Marchers of all races chanted and carried signs to show their disapproval of the treatment of George Floyd.
There are people out there who don't feel safe. They don't feel safe from somebody who's supposed to be protecting them.
Well, I feel like just to show my support.
I felt like this was definitely needed. Like, we needed to take a stand. We needed to do something to remind people that our lives matter as well, just like everybody else.
Millions of people saw the video of George Floyd, and hundreds showed up here in Appleton to protest.
I saw the video and it was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. No one should ever be treated like that. It's as simple as that. It's human decency.
It's just disappointing, but it's not surprising, you know. It's just, we just keep seeing this happening. Nothing gets done about it.
I was upset, outraged about it. Just, you know, a bunch of emotions came through my head.
Treat each other with kindness, and if somebody's different than you, don't let that get in the way of being nice.
In Appleton, Rhonda Fox, Local 5 News.
Earlier in the day, protesters took to the streets of downtown for their second day. Organizers wanted to keep this watch calm. Local 5's Rhonda Fox shows us how protesters peacefully showed their disapproval of the death of George Floyd.
Unfortunately, it's something we're used to. Everybody else is just not seeing it. This is our reality out here.
Protesters rallied down the Main Street Bridge in Green Bay to protest the death of George Floyd.
They're not going to stop until this racism ends. That's why it was organized extremely quick, because people want this to stop now.
No justice, no peace.
Good Monday morning, everyone, and thanks for waking up with Local 5. Protesters turned violent in downtown Green Bay overnight.
Crowds formed at the Marathon gas station on the corner of Walnut and Monroe at around 11:30 last night. The protesters were seen taunting the police, who stood lined up outside the gas station. These protests come in the wake of George Floyd's death.
Dozens of stores and businesses were damaged last night after protesters threw rocks and other items while protesting.
We're joined by Local 5's Eric Richards, who is live in Green Bay, where there's still a slight police presence. Eric.
Good morning to you. We are still here at the Marathon gas station at Walnut and Monroe, and it's currently quiet out here. Now, just a few hours ago, that was not the case. Just after 11:30 last night, what started out as a peaceful protest turned into a violent one, with people throwing objects at police vehicles. About 10 minutes later, police ordered the crowd to disperse, and at one point, someone is seen throwing what appeared to be a trash can at a parked police vehicle. Now, protesters could be heard saying, "No justice, no peace," as Green Bay PD took a tactical stance in front of the Marathon gas station. A number of businesses throughout throughout the downtown Green Bay area were vandalized. This was a protest in connection to the in-custody death of George Floyd in Minneapolis a week ago, which was captured on video that has been seen around the world. In that video, now former officer Derek Chauvin was observed kneeling on the neck of George Floyd for nearly 10 minutes while he was handcuffed on the ground by a patrol car. Derek was arrested and charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. 3 other officers that were involved in the incident were fired but not arrested. Now, the FBI is handling that investigation. And as we come back out here live here at home, we do not know if anyone was injured or arrested during last night's protest. Green Bay PD told me moments ago that a press conference will be held later on this morning where we will learn some new information about this second day of protest. Live here in Green Bay, Eric Richards, Local 5 this morning.
You were organizing the protest on Sunday. This was the peaceful protest.
Correct.
Of last Sunday. Now, I want to make it clear, this was the protest that did not turn violent. This was the peaceful protest. You weren't connected with whatever happened later on that evening.
Correct.
What was the mood that afternoon, that day, of those who were with you?
During my protest?
During your protest.
It was wonderful. We arrived at downtown, and I told everybody where to head out, and then we head out to the police station. We decided to speak to the police that decided to come out, and we pretty much said this is what we feel and this is what we want to see as a change.
So it was a peaceful protest, and everyone seemed okay with the police officers being there, and everything was calm. Was there any indication, was there any talk that things could have turned violent later on in the day?
Not really, not that I know about. It was great. People were expressing themselves, expressing their wounds, and I left, and people wanted to continue the protest. So I am a regular person. I have a job. I have things to do. Also, I can't be there 24/7 to lead people, of course. So by the time I found out, it was way too late. I couldn't do anything about it. I was very disappointed in those people, but I do take responsibility for the protest. I don't take responsibility for the people that wanted to do the lawyering.
Now on Local 5, Green Bay protest demonstrators take to the streets, calling a police department training film insulting to people of color. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tom Zalaski. Aaron Davison has this night off. Supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement blocked intersections and protested a video released by the Green Bay Police Department. The video in question is called Hands Up, We Won't Shoot. It shows an officer giving the public instructions on how to defuse a tense situation with police.
Put your hands on top of your head. You're under arrest. You're under arrest. Put your hands on top of your head.
So in this scenario, this young man had nothing to do with the situation at hand, but found himself in a scary encounter surrounded by police cars. And he did everything right. He remembered, hands up, don't shoot. Got his hands in the air and showed those police officers that he was not a threat to them so that they could approach, make contact with him, and sort out the truth of what was going on.
This video is part of the Green Bay Police Department series called Beyond the Badge, and it was posted on social media. Well, this evening, a group of protesters made their way through the east side of Green Bay, stopping at Roosevelt and East Mason Street. They were right outside of our Channel 5 studios here. From there, they marched through the streets of Green Bay, across the Mason Street Bridge, and into the downtown district. The protesters called the video insulting and disrespectful to people of color who have lost their lives during police confrontations.
As taxpaying citizens of this community, I feel offended. I feel like it is a direct slap in the face. I feel disrespected that they would even make a mockery of something like that when all these black people in America are dying at the hands of officers and aren't being prosecuted for it.
The Green Bay Police Department says its Beyond the Badge series is designed to explain some of the officers' expectations of what they hope to see when interacting with the public. Previous episodes covered traffic stops and police calls.
Good evening, I'm Erin Davison. Conversations about race, while difficult, are very important. And since the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis on May 25th, there is now a direct spotlight on us all to bring those conversations from beyond the shadows and out into the open.
What do you want?
I can breathe. Breathe the name of it. I can breathe.
3 words heard round the world, igniting a modern-day revolution. Protests starting in Minneapolis.
Being black in America should not be a death sentence. When you hear someone calling for help, you are supposed to help.
What we saw was a man's life taken from him, and the inhumanity and cowardice of those officers.
This is not a black people issue. This is a human issue. And if you are a human being, you should be outraged.
Quickly spread throughout the country.
And I'm scared, and I'm worried for myself and for people who look like me, because it could be me next, and I'm tired.
Including here in Northeast Wisconsin. From the initial pain of George Floyd's death and protests that at times were violent, locally, people speaking out, asking for answers, pushing for conversations.
The only way to win is through peace. You match peace with peace, and that's how we gain victory. And if we don't want violence.
This is all meant for peace. It's all just to get our word out, a message. The people that rallied, it's just showing a bad name, and that's not what we're here for. We're completely here for peace, love, and unity.
We here at WFRV are members of the community and want to be part of the conversation and hopefully part of the solution. We've reached out to people all over Northeast Wisconsin and asked them to write an open letter addressing issues of race. We asked them to share something personal they wanted you to know about them, about their community, and about their hopes for understanding.
When you look at me, what do you see? Do you see a 3-time Super Bowl champion? Do you see the president and founder of My Brother's Keeper, a program we founded in 2003? Do you see a father? Do you see a stepfather? Do you see a grandfather? Do you see a man that loves his wife more than anything? Do you see a guy that's went through a lot of stuff and through sacrifice and battling made something of his life? Or do you see just a simple black man? Don't just see me, understand me. I've always said that Green Bay is the American dream once you realize what the American dream is. Martin Luther King had a dream. This is our community. I live here, you live here. Change starts with you and I. Embrace me. Don't hate me. You and I have so much more in common once we all become colorblind, not blinded by color. All lives will then matter. Harry, F. Sidney III.